If you've been interested in looking into the M50 Mark II, then this is gonna be the video for you. Didn't mean to rhyme right there, that just gotta happen. Moving on. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Cashed Out, and today we're going to be talking about the Canon M50 Mark II. Now, the Canon M50 has been one of the most popular beginner cameras for a while now, and now we've got the Mark II, the second version of this camera, and today we're going to cover some of the insides and outs. Now, we're not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details, but I'm going to give you a hands-on experience of using this camera, both for photos and also for video. So we're going to talk about some of the photo, some of the video specs, and just going to give you a few sample shots to look at. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start off by talking about the design of this camera, and the first thing that I do notice about it is definitely the size, and that's a big selling point of it, but it's definitely smaller than the EOS R or some of the other full frame mirrorless cameras. It has more of that point and shoot feel to it. It kind of reminds me of a point and shoot camera. And one of the things that I do really like about this M50 Mark II is the grip of it. I actually got a chance to feel the Canon M6, which is another competitor to the M50, and I didn't like the feel of it. There wasn't really much of a grip. Now this one is pretty small. The grip isn't as deep as I would say an EOS R or an R6. It's not as deep, but it's actually really good for such a small camera. You actually feel like you have somewhere to hold, and it's not just like holding it from the side. So it's a very, very good grip for such a small camera. Now the controls are also very nicely placed. You can actually reach them all with one thumb, one finger. You don't have to jump all the way across the camera to be able to change settings. So it's all just right there. It's very, very compact, very nicely packed in. And they've got the mode dial at the top, which you can use to switch between photos and videos and other settings. It also has a dial that wraps around the shutter button, and that allows you to be able to control the shutter speed. So control wise, it feels very good. It's very easy to reach, very easy to access. The ergonomics are absolutely fantastic. For such a small camera, I really had a good time holding it. You do notice the size when you bring it up to your eye when you're about to take a photo. That's probably the biggest time that I did notice the size of this camera, but holding it, honestly, you know, you kind of get used to it and it feels really good in the hand. So ergonomics, phenomenal. Controls, easy to access. So far, I'm really liking the design of this camera. In terms of port, it's got a micro USB and HDMI on one side, and then it's got a 35mm mic jack on the opposite side of it. The flip out screen also feels very nice. It's got a very nice texture to it. It doesn't feel slippery or anything. Similar to the EOS R, very nicely designed, and the screen is also very nice sized for this camera. You actually get to see everything that you're doing. You can see the settings, and it's very, very well set up in terms of the flip out screen. So the camera has an EFM mount, and that's different from the other APS-C cameras. So a lot of the APS-C ones will have an EFS mount. So if you're looking in terms of lens selection, I would highly recommend, if you choose to get this camera, get the EFM mount adapter. You can use lenses like the EF 50mm 1.8, which I'll link a video to it. I'll add a card for a video to it and also link it in the description. But I did a video about using that lens, and it's a phenomenal lens. I really love that lens, especially for beginning photographers and videographers. It's a great all-around lens and would go really well paired up with this M50. Definitely look into that M-mount adapter if you're gonna look into getting this camera. So design-wise, I think the design of this camera is pretty good. It does look similar to the original M50. It does give me that point-and-shoot vibe like I mentioned earlier, but it seems like it's leaning more into the professional side of things, kind of with the grip and some of the dials and things like that. So I think they did a good job for a beginner camera, and M50 is very nicely designed here in the Mark II. Now you can choose to get this camera with the kit lens, and the kit lens is super tiny, super adorable, honestly. Here, let me grab it real quick. Okay, got the kit lens, little tiny guy. I don't know if you can see it too well on the shot here, but we got some B-roll rolling about it, but it's super tiny, super compact. It looks like a 15-45 kit lens, and it does a good job. Actually, I shot some video, shot some photos with it. We'll show you here later in the video, but it's, I mean, compact. It's got a little zoom to it. Nothing too major. It's actually image stabilized, which is something I didn't catch when I first was shooting with it, and very nicely done for a kit lens. This tiny, I actually have never played around with the M-mount lenses, so it's like kiddie lenses, but they do the trick. You know, quality, we're gonna talk a little bit more about the quality of the image coming out of here, but kit lens is very nice and compact. So if you definitely are looking to save space and have a camera that you can use for vlogging and literally practically take anywhere, then this is definitely not a bad option if you're getting started. So we've covered the body, covered the design, covered the kit lens, so let's talk about what this camera can actually do now. With this camera, you get the 24 megapixel crop sensor. Now, it's not the same sensor that you get in the EOS R, obviously, but it's still very good. You can do a lot with a crop sensor camera, especially with 24 megapixels. That's more than enough to get good quality images. And in terms of the images, this camera actually allows you, in terms of photography, to be able to shoot in C-RAW, but also with JPEG. So if you need both, you can shoot both in RAW and JPEG. And RAW allows you to be able to make some adjustments in post, or using Lightroom or any other software that you want to use. But it's a very handy ability to be able to shoot in RAW, and I'm glad that they have it installed in this compact camera. Now, this Mark II also features dual pixel autofocus, which works phenomenally well, just like any other Canon camera. So you're not getting shafted or anything like that. The autofocus on here is definitely on point. Now, in terms of autofocus, what I do like about it too is that it includes the touch and drag focus points, which are super handy, especially when you got the camera up to your eye. You can use the back screen to be able to touch and drag your focus points instead of taking it off and shifting it with the control bar or the control button or something like that. You can actually just keep it on your eye, touch the sides, and then drag the focus point when you need it. That's a super handy tool. I use it all the time when I'm shooting with my EOS R and R6. I love using that focus and drag point. So the Mark II has a manual pop-up flash, and it also includes a hot shoe, so you can plug in an external flash if you want something a lot better than this, the built-in flash on there. Now, in terms of the photo quality, the photos actually looked better than I expected. It might give the EOS R a run for its money. You never know. But I think the photos look really good coming out of here. A difference that I do notice is that it seems like the M50 image has a bit more saturation out of the gate than the image out of the EOS R, but that's stuff that you can fix in post. But the image quality is definitely there. So if you get this camera, you're not going to be losing image quality. It's definitely still a very good photography camera as well. Now, in terms of video capability, which is what a lot of reviews I've seen have focused on, video-wise, you can shoot up to 4K 24 frames per second, but it's also got that big boy crop on 4K, just like the EOS R. So if you're using 4K, just be aware that you're going to get a crop in terms of using this. So just keep in mind when you're shooting. It can shoot up to 60 frames per second in full HD, and it can actually shoot up to 120 frames per second, but that's only in 720. So you're going to be getting that lower quality when you're shooting 120p if you really want that super smooth slow motion footage. Before you can use the high frame rate, the 120p recording, you actually need to enable high frame rate recording, and you actually do that under the movie recording quality menu, and then selecting the high frame rate and setting that to enabled. So if you get the camera and you're looking to shoot 120 and you can't find it, make sure that you check that menu item and make sure that that's checked on before you start recording. And one last thing to be aware of if you're going to be shooting at 120 is that you do lose autofocus when you shoot in 120. So just something to be aware of, another one of those Canon ban hammers to slow down your cameras. So I don't know why they kind of minimize their technology. I mean, I kind of get it in terms of profits and things like that, but anyway, another topic. So I've covered a lot of specs, covered a lot of detail in terms of photo and video. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of some sample footage in terms of the video clips, and I shot the same scenes using the Canon EOS R and the M50, and I just made sure that the settings were the same, got them as close to the same shot as I could frame wise, but it's a little bit different because obviously you've got a crop sensor and you got a full frame. So some of them aren't going to look exactly the same, but it'll give you a general idea in terms of the video quality coming out of this. So let's go ahead and roll that and take a look at it. So let me know what you guys think about the footage in the comments below. Did you see a big difference in quality? Did you notice anything major between the EOS R footage and the M50 footage? Maybe if you're looking to get started and looking to get the M50, hopefully this helps you see the quality that you're getting out of it, and just, kind of see that it's not a terrible place to start. There's definitely worse cameras than this, so it's not a terrible place to start if this is the one you're looking to get. Overall, my experience with the M50 Mark II has been really good. Honestly, it feels really good. The design is is nice, the ergonomics are great. It's got a lot of the good features in terms of photo and video. The image quality, like we talked about, is definitely on point. So you're not losing anything in terms of quality. So the biggest thing in terms of camera bodies, in terms of gear, is that it's a useful tool. And I always try to stress this, it's a useful tool, but the thing that's gonna make you a better photographer, better videographer is just practice and learning. So this is a good start. Definitely not a bad starter camera if you're looking to get things going with a photo or video, but just make sure that you're continuing to sharpen your skills and learning and not just depending on gear, because the gear will come and go, it'll change, but the skills you develop are what's gonna make you a better photographer or videographer. So hope this review helped you guys out. Hopefully it gave you a little bit more details, a little bit more specifics in terms of photo and video. So if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thank you to all of those that have. You know, we've got a lot of new subscribers coming on and definitely excited about that. But I will definitely be back with a few more video reviews. I got some cool new gear that I want to test out, and you know, I'll have those posted up here as soon as I get it just the way I like it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Check you guys out on the next one. Take it easy.